Lawmakers are speaking out about Saturday's horrific mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, that killed at least 10 people and injured 3. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut called out his colleagues in a tweet, writing, quote, "Your thoughts should be about what you are going to do to end this slaughter. Your prayers should be for your own salvation if you choose to sit on your hands again and let people die." Joining me now is the author of that tweet, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Senator Murphy, thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday show.
Thank you.
So the murder of 26 people at Sandy Hook Elementary in 2012 happened in your state. You wrote a book with the title, "The Violence Inside Us." I would love to get your reaction beyond the tweet that you put out to the horror in Buffalo, but more particularly the racism that inspired it.
So there's 2 really frightening phenomena that are happening in this country right now. The first is the normalization of racism, right? You have racist ideology and speech now embedded inside major American institutions, the Republican Party, the former president's political operation, Fox News, and it is fueling a level of violence that we have never seen before. 75% of all extremist attacks in this country are committed by white supremacists. The second worrying phenomenon is the normalization of violence in this nation. We have had a dramatic spike in gun murders, mass shootings over the course of the last few years, and they barely get attention. The Buffalo shooting is getting the nation's attention, but there were 19 people injured at a mass shooting at the Milwaukee Bucks game, and I scanned the major American news sites the next morning, and you could barely find any reference to it. So these 2 things happening side by side are just absolutely frightening to many Americans, and we don't have to sit by and allow this to happen. We can pass laws. We can push back against these racist institutions to try to change the trajectory of violence in this nation.
And you say we can pass laws, and gun control groups have been expressing frustration with the Biden administration, which is on their side and wants to get something done, but there hasn't been any progress. Why hasn't there been any progress on keeping guns out of the hands of people hell-bent on creating the mayhem that we've now seen, the latest incident, Buffalo?
So, we have the majority of the Senate, the majority of the House, and a president who supports common sense changes in our gun laws. That's supported by 80–90% of Americans. It's the rules of the Senate that stand in our way. I've been trying to get 60 votes for an expansion of background checks in this country, which frankly would have the biggest impact on gun violence. And I've been unsuccessful. But in the wake of this Buffalo shooting, it may be that we have to, put a vote up in the Senate or in the House, show the American people where folks stand. I mean, why on earth do you need a 30-round magazine or a 100-round drum of ammunition to protect your home or to shoot for sport? It looks as if this individual walked into this supermarket with one of these expanded magazines that are designed for one simple purpose: to kill as many people as quickly as possible. That's why there are 20 kids dead in Sandy Hook today, because that young man had access to a magazine that was designed for the efficient execution of human beings. I just think we can find common ground on some of these measures, targeted measures like restricting the size of magazines. And if we can't, why not just put it up for a vote and show Americans which side that you're on?
You talk about the fact that you're trying to get put together 60 votes in the Senate. A big election is coming up in November, the midterm elections. Conventional wisdom is that Democrats are going to lose one, if not both, chambers. The new NBC News poll out shows that in terms of voter preferences, Democrats and Republicans are tied. 46% prefer Democrats, 46% prefer Republicans. In terms of the Democratic agenda, can the party break through to the American people and bump that preference number up?
So, frankly, that's actually an extraordinary number. Normally, 6 months before a midterm election, you would see the party out of power have a much bigger advantage. And I think people are coming to terms with the stakes of this election. All of a sudden, you realize that if Republicans get control of the Senate, they are passing a national abortion ban. Whether you live in Connecticut, New York, California, Texas, you are not not going to have access to full reproductive health care if Republicans win control of the House and the Senate. So the stakes are getting higher. And I think if we communicate those stakes effectively to the American people, we're going to do well. There's also this phenomenon happening in which some really bad candidates are being nominated by Republicans in states across the country. And candidate quality matters. It maybe doesn't matter as much as it did 10 or 20 years ago, but there are some really extreme Republican candidates, candidates that don't support the perpetuation of American democracy that are going to be on the ballot for Republicans. That will weigh them down as well.
Speaking of abortion, there were abortion rights protests around the country yesterday. And this comes after the Senate failed to pass a bill, break the filibuster to pass a bill that would codify Roe. Do you think that abortion rights is an issue that will bring people out to the polls, that will inure to the benefit of Democrats?
It will. I think this is a nightmare for Republicans politically. Of course, that's secondary. This is first and foremost a nightmare for women in this country. But the reality is Republicans are talking about the Supreme Court leak. They're talking about anything other than the fact that they are on a glide path to criminalize abortion and lock up women and doctors in this country. Young people especially have made up their mind on the issue of choice. They support the decisions about reproductive health care being made by individuals, not politicians. Young people traditionally stay home in these midterm elections. I think you're going to see a surge of 18 to 25-year-old voters in the midterms who do not want Republicans to take healthcare decisions away from them and put them in the hands of government officials.
We are out of time, but I really want to get you real quickly on this. You tweeted out, another thing you tweeted out was in reaction to the killing of Palestinian-American journalist SHIREEN Abu AKLEH, I know I'm mispronouncing her name, of Al Jazeera. You said you were going to look into it. Anything you can say about anything you found out?
Well, I didn't find any justification for the attack on those mourners. It's appalling. It's unacceptable. And we have to press for a full investigation and accountability, which often doesn't happen when these crimes are committed inside Israel and the West Bank.
Senator Chris Murphy, the great state of Connecticut, thank you very much for coming back to the Sunday Show.